Hello everyone, Jerry here. Today we're painting St Abbs in Scotland. It's a perfect coastal scene with strong shapes, a natural lead-in and those beautiful cool blues and warm cottage whites that make the whole composition sing. It's a brilliant little masterclass in colour and composition. So let's get straight into it. First I'm going to start putting a wash in the sky, and I'm going to be putting a little bit of water on the sky area to help this flow, because I want it just to be flat. I'm going to bring the wash down past the house on the left, over the trees. Now this little coastal village is all about simple shapes and clean light. There's these white cottages, a few strong roof lines, and there's a glimpse of the sea pulling you through the scene. I think it's unfussy, atmospheric, and it's perfect for loose brushwork. Quickly laying in this wash. This is cobalt blue and just a little bit of cerulean. Using a Tintorella size 9 mop. There's a nice point on it, which is good for going around these chimneys. Start at the top, put plenty of paint on, get a nice bead of wet paint, and then bring that down and keep that bead going. Have your board at an angle. Well, I have mine at a slight angle. Normally, if I wasn't filming it, I'd have the board at even more of an angle, and the water runs more. But there's just enough for it to run down here. And you'll see what I do in a minute with the excess paint. Don't just leave it there. It will start to back run, and then you'll get those blooms. That's a dry brush, just taking out that excess paint, just teasing it out. I'm using Saunders Waterford 140 pound rough paper, and the paints I'm using are mostly Winsor & Newton, but I have got some Jackson's artist quality paints that I'm trying out. This is one of them, raw sienna. Just bringing in this wall that's going to be a feature, built with all different size stones. Quite a complex thing to paint, and I think this is probably one of the reasons why the painting takes me a little bit longer to do. And as you'll see as I progress painting this wall, I'm trying to do it in a loose fashion, but there's certain elements that do take a little bit of time. As far as the composition goes, you see that the road does the guide in here. It takes you down in, sweeps you past the cottages straight down to the water, and then the houses, they step back in size, which gives instant depth without overthinking it. And that stone wall, that really anchors the whole thing and tells you exactly where you are. Now I've just touched it here and there with with the tissue, just to take some of that colour off and vary the tone. Trying to work with this one so that I can paint as much as possible before I have to dry anything off. This is sepia. And I'm using a size 8 Escoda brush, Escoda round brush. It's a synthetic brush. Just popping this in quite quickly. Going to be going over parts of it again. Want this to dry nice and light. Cobalt blue into the raw sienna mixture and adding a little bit of cadmium yellow. You see I use quite a large palette, which I leave pools of paint, which I dip into. It's good to work with, but it's sometimes difficult to describe because I work so fast with dipping into the various pools. After a while, you just kind of do it through intuition, really. And if you use the same colours a lot, then you get to know how they work with each other. This is a grassy area on the right hand side. Gonna have the sun shining on it from the left. And they're just doing a dark area where the cottage is, the large cottage nearest to us. And then going with the light green wash, just putting in some grass on the left hand side at the bottom. I want this to remain fairly light. I will be bringing in some darks on it just to add a lot of interest to this foreground grass. I'm very carefully bringing in this next wash, which is the sea, French ultramarine, cobalt blue. Once again, starting from the top, bringing the wash down, not fussing too much with it. Want it to remain fairly flat. Going over the trees there at the bottom left as well. They'll be quite dark, so not worried about them. But just paying attention to keeping this sea line straight and accurate, because it will stand out if you don't get it just right. That's the horizon line in the distance with the sea. Got plenty of time to work with this because you've got the chimneys making up the wash, so you can stop in between the chimneys. But best to mix up enough paint to cover the whole area, so it's all the same colour. That's to see it. You see how that silhouettes the houses on the lower part of the painting really well. Raw umber. This is where your imagination kicks in here, and I'm just doing shapes. There's too much going on with these stone walls to paint every single thing. It would take too long, and it's not my style of painting. But I'll just start off by putting a few marks in this colour just to get the wall started. But I will be adding to it quite often as I do various stages of the painting, which is the way I work with things like this, rather than try and do the wall all in one go. So I'll let that dry on the wall, and this is the wall coming towards us. The sun's hitting the top, so that'll be quite effective. The top part of that wall, light against dark, and the dark against light effect. Sap green. Trees on the right hand side at the back. Using a size 12 brush, size 12 round. A Skoda. And putting in the roof on this lower cottage. Sepia. Payne's grey. Now, I'm doing this quite slowly because I want to leave this top part of the roof. I'm going to put a band of colour in there because in the image I've got is it looks quite golden actually with the sun shining on that top part of the roof. It's obviously the colour of the ridge tiles, and I think that looks so effective that I wanted to keep that, so I will spend a bit of time leaving that line, which does slow me down a bit. This is a bluey roof, cobalt blue, French ultramarine mixture, and I think I'll work my way into that grey mixture as well, just to make it different to the first house, and once again leaving a line. So working quite carefully, but not fussing, just wanting to get a nice flat wash on and around the dormer window. And then there's a porch, which I'll just do the same colour for now before I add to that. Nice point on these brushes. It does last for quite a while. Some of them I keep for a couple of years before the point becomes, before I lose the point. And then I just use it for roughing in trees and things like that. Roof on the cottage on the right, the nearest cottage, Winsor & Newton, light red. going around these dormer windows. Just looking at where I've got to go here, because I've missed a few pencil lines out, but I'll just have to guess. And then there's this lower roof there. Just put a little bit of colour on the roof of that. This is quinacridone gold, a colour I always have trouble saying, but it got it right that time. A colour I've got in my palette, but I don't always use it very often. Should use it more. I'm using it for these chinks of golden light on these chimney pots. And on the chimney stacks themselves. And then there's these wooden parts in the structure above the windows. Just move to a smaller round brush. All the information of what I'm saying as regards to colours, brushes and materials are in the description below, so you can see it there. And if you want to try this painting, the outline drawing is on my website. This is a good one to have a go at. Just have to make sure you get the drawing correct, and then just filling in the shapes really. All looking a bit flat at the moment, till we start getting some darks in and some shadows, which will really make some of the areas pop out. And just using a grey mixture, big paints, grey and sepia combination there on the bottom left of my palette, just to put some marks in on where the windows are. And then having another go at the wall. putting in a door there in raw umber. And my raw umber is Jackson's artist paint. And then at the back there's some outbuildings. Putting some nice dark roofs on them. Now I'm going into a mixture of sap green and some of the dark colour blue, French ultramarine, cobalt blue. Putting that together, and I'm just flicking the brush up, using the tip of the brush, give the impression of some lumps of grass where the sun's hitting that area, and there's some shadow areas. Just varying the tone a little bit. And then going again on the left hand side. Once again, that same flicking action at the top of the brush. Need a nice point on your brush. Nice long bristles. Brush will do a lot of work for you. I kind of developed this sort of quite fast flicking action over time. Do a lot of landscapes, paint a lot of grass. And this area here I'm not too worried about. It's going to be in deep shadow, but it needs the colour behind it. And then working my way around the painting, just starting to bring in this area of trees behind the houses. Just using that same green mixture, sap green, French ultramarine, cobalt blue. A little bit of cadmium yellow in there as well. Payne's grey, sepia. Second wash on the grey roof. Bringing this down in bands of colour. I really like the lines of roof tiles on these. And then I've mixed that grey mixture in with the blue, French ultramarine, cobalt blue mixture next to it, giving that roof the same treatment. Small round brush, size 8 Escoda. This is Escoda Perla. Not using too many different brushes on this particular painting, so there's no need for it. Can use the brush with different colours, dip it into my water jar, and then I've got a flat sponge that I rub the brush out on. You can keep doing that up to a point, but if you want very light colours on, it's best to go again with a new brush. Doesn't matter so much with the darker colours. On the wall further back, keeping this fairly dark. A lot of it's going to be in shadow. Small brush, size 8 brush, size 8 round. Dark mixture, raw umber and some darks in there, neutral tint. Quite a lot going on with this painting, which is why I've kept the sky and the sea very quiet. Just simple flat washes. Going over this wall again. Not making too much of the individual blocks in this wall because it's going to be in shadow eventually. But there is a nice effect on the top of the wall where the sun catches it. Light red mixture on this roof, the nearest cottage. Just working my way around doing areas on the houses, doorways, windows, porches, things. This is a special rigger brush from my collection of brushes. It's a size 8 Escoda. Just looking at the brush, size 8 Escoda, and just been trimmed on the tip to make it half size 8 brush and top half rigger brush, so it holds a lot of paint and you have to keep dipping it in like you do with a regular rigger brush. And I'm just dipping into some darks, putting in these lines of roof tiles, which is quite fiddly for me and fussing, but I quite liked it in this painting. So you don't always have to do the same thing all the time. Just do whatever you want to as an artist, really. Yeah, I did like these lines of roof tiles, so I'm putting an impression of them in, not painting every tile, just doing some lines. They'll dry a bit lighter and merge in. I am actually putting in more detail than I normally do here. It's some darks here, dark colours going in, just add into this fantastic wall that runs along here. So many different shades and so many different size bricks. Just want to capture the essence of it. And the way I'll do it is I'll just keep going back to it every now and then and adding to it. Always look a bit bitty when you first start. I'm just using my imagination a bit. Still using the rigger brush. And there's these windows going to be bringing in now on this cottage that's nearest to us. Just taking me time, making sure I get the lines right. You can paint these in fairly loosely, but architecturally they do have to be quite sound, otherwise it stands out. And it's just a little bit tighter, this painting, for me, so windows have to be a bit tighter as well. Just darkening up the background here. I'm leaving some of the fence posts there, just in the white paper. You see I've created a line of fence posts just by doing the shapes of the in between them. And popping in this TV aerial, do like a TV aerial going up into a light sky. Using quite a lot this rigger brush for these small areas. You can see the painting starting to take shape a little bit now with these darks going in. The flatness is going away now. What will really show is when I start putting the shadows in. That will really make it look like what it is, a nice sunny day. Putting in another tone. Sap green and French ultramarine. More French ultramarine and sap green here, so it's quite a bit darker, adding to these grassy shapes. And you can see I'm just dipping into this mixture, raw umber, raw sienna, light red, neutral tint, all mixed in together, and just using parts of that mixture to create the illusion of a brick wall that's composed of, or a block wall that's composed of lots of different size stones, but not actually painting all the stones. Payne's grey mixture, size 8 brush. Putting in some shade on the road that leads in. Now I've let that dry, and I'm now removing these pencil marks because I want to put in some of that nice goldy colour. This is a medium putty rubber. Make sure that everything is completely dry. Before you start using this rubber. Best to go away and come back after 10 minutes so you know it is completely dry, rather than just try and do it with a dryer, although that's what I did in this instance. Starting to put in some of the darks here now. Just carefully doing these ridge tiles on the tops of the roofs in quinacridone and gold. And then using the same colour for some other parts, some timbers on these, on the lower roof and above the windows. Just using a regular rigger brush now. I want to get some dark green on the go now, so sap green and Payne's grey, breaking up this area of trees, making it a little bit more interesting. Just using a variety of greens here, all different sorts of trees behind this house. Putting in some of the dark shades on these grasses now. I've actually put a couple of people in this house there. Totally the wrong colour. Got rid of that. Just using some burnt sienna on a rigger brush. Do some heads. This is the roofs at the back of this house. Really nice dark line against the white of the building. Now I'm using the light red with a little bit of neutral tint just to darken it off a little bit, to start putting these deep shadows on these dormer windows. Nice and dark. Usual thing with watercolour, will dry a little bit lighter, so be brave. going nice and dark. But I did put a little bit of red in there just to make the shadow just have a little bit of red in it, a bit of interest to it. And this is raw umber. Size 8 round, that was just putting in some indication of some shadow on those distant houses. French ultramarine, cobalt blue. Going over the white now, this is where it becomes interesting, putting the shadow colour on it. And just a little bit darker than what I want it to be, which should be right. Don't fiddle, just go straight down with the colour. That brings that to life. Once again, doing a little bit of work on that wall. Now I've added some alizarin crimson to my blue mixture, cobalt blue, a little bit of French ultramarine, nice and deep. Quick strokes with the brush, right to left, straight over all these paintwork in the immediate foreground. If you go fast enough, the colours don't blur so much underneath. And then stopping where it hits that wall. That's where there's a tree or a building or something, just to the right outer sight of the building. Quite an effective thing to do. It's quite an old artist trick, really. I do it with a lot of paintings, putting an invisible tree or a house. Shadow going across the front adds interest. Using some of that brown mixture, raw umber, burnt sienna. Nice dark colour, going to put in those distant trees at the back of the house, down by the sea. Going around with a size 8 brush, size 8 round brush, and just putting in some edges here and there. Needed something to break that white expanse on that near side cottage. I'm going to brush out again, doing this stone wall. Adding even more marks to it, stones and mortar lines, that kind of thing. Giving the gentleman a blue shirt and the other person raw sienna jumper or shirt or something. You see, I spent quite a bit of time on this wall, just trying to keep it like what it is, random. I find it easier to do this random effect by just going back every now and then rather than trying to do it in one go. Hopefully no two parts are the same. And still darkening up behind this fence. I suppose in some ways I can be accused of fiddling about with this particular painting. Putting in these lines on the wall at in the immediate foreground. I quite enjoyed painting this one though. Great composition, absolutely fabulous. Just having a general look round here, really just sort of seeing what needs to be altered, made darker. I figured that doorway needed to be a bit darker there. Looks a bit bland. And then there's a small grassy bit at the bottom of the wall. Taking off this masking tape that I used to take the watercolor paper to the board. This is about 16 inches by 12 size wise, quarter imperial. And I've taken the tape off and just need to do a couple of things to tidy it up, and then that'll be that. straightening up a few things. And removing some of these pencil marks. Obviously everything had dried when I did this part. I want that white to shine through without any pencil marks showing. I used to leave all the pencil marks in, but I'm finding more and more now I'm taking them out. Probably because I'm using a heavier mark and more often when I do these online paintings now, so that I do these outline drawings that you can get on my website, and they are normally a bit heavier, and there's a lot more of them than I normally do. Really taking care with the placement of windows in this particular painting. And there we are. There's the finished painting. Hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you come and paint some more with me another time. Bye for now.